Yes, so the text said, "Now I'm confused about my duty and I've lost all composure because of miserly weakness. In this condition, I'm asking you to tell me for certain what is best for me. And now I am your disciple and a soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me." So currently, I'm the only one here online. Yep. So just want to see if anybody is here. Absolutely nobody. Okay. Just give me a minute. I will just share this. Uh, yeah. So we're still in the in the process of Arjuna getting uh, into the mood of being a disciple. He has been complaining for some time, but now he's actually saying to Krishna that he's ready for discipleship. This is an extremely important moment in the Bhagavad Gita. So after this, everything is going to change. Arjuna is going to be a servant of his spiritual master. So Krishna is going to order him. That's the thing. The relationship between spiritual master and disciple is going to be very clear for us there. That's a relationship between a junior and senior. So let's see what Prabhupada has to say in the purport here. By nature's own way, the complete system of material activities is a source of perplexity for everyone. In every step there is perplexity. Therefore, it behooves one to approach a bona fide spiritual master who can give one proper guidance for executing the purpose of life. All Vedic literatures advise us to approach a bona fide spiritual master, get free from the perplexities of life, which happen without our desire. They are like a forest fire that somehow blazes without being set by anyone. Yeah, so let's note that one. This is a very good analogy. Without being set by anyone. Once we get into this, trying to find out who did it, who is to blame, and all these things, we are basically lost in the material whirlpool of like and dislike. The point of the guru is that the guru is going to help us come to the platform where we are free from this, trying to find who did it and things like that is, more the passion. More the goodness, we are very, much working on getting into the mood of being actually a dasya or a servant, and not so much looking at other things actually. So Prabhupada says, similarly, the world situation is such that perplexities of life automatically appear without our wanting such confusion. No one wants fire, and yet it takes place, and we become perplexed. The Vedic wisdom therefore advises that in order to solve the perplexities of life and to understand the science of the solution, one must approach a spiritual master who is in the disciplic succession. A person with a bona fide spiritual master is supposed to know everything. One should not therefore remain in material perplexities, but should approach a spiritual master. Yeah. This is the purport of this verse. Who is the man in material perplexities? It is he who does not understand the problems of life. In the Brihad Aranyak Upanishad, the perplexed man is described as follows. Yuva etad aksharam gargi aveditva lokat prahiti sakripana. He's a miserly man who does not solve the problems of life as a human and who meets this world like cats and dogs without understanding the science of self-realization. Yeah. Um, yeah. It's called a kripana. So you have two different types of persons. You have brahmana and a kripana. Because the same Brihadaranyaka Upanishad is going to explain what is a brahmana. So actually, it just continues on the same line. Uh, so one who understands, you know, the science of self realization, that is a Brahmana. Uh, then one who doesn't is a Kripana. Yeah. So here is no wise and miserly. Uh, yeah, this is what the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says. And he's talking to Gargi, who is a wise female. She is the disciple, and the instructor. I forgot his name. Yeah. Anyway, Gargi is. I think she's the daughter of Gargamuni. I'm not sure. Yeah. Okay, so this human form of life is the most valuable asset for the living entity who can utilize it for solving the problems of life. Therefore, one who does not utilize this opportunity properly is a miser. On the other hand, there's the Brahmana, or he who is intelligent enough to utilize this body to solve all the problems of life. Yes, here Prabhupada is bringing the other verse also. Etadaksharam gargi vidit vasmal lokaprete is a Brahmana. Yeah. The Kripanas or miserly persons waste their time in being overly affectionate. Uh, family, society, country, etc. In the material conception of life, one is often attached to family life, namely to wife, children, and other members, on the basis of skin disease. The Kripana thinks that he is able to protect his family members from death. The Kripana thinks that his family or society can save him from the verge of death. Such family attachment can be found even in the lower animals who take care of children also. Being intelligent, Arjuna could understand that his affection for family members and his wish to protect them from death were the causes of his perplexities. Yeah, so of course he's going to fight, and some of his family members are on the other side. So of course he cannot protect them if they became the enemies, unfortunately. For a kshatriya, that's the tough duty. However, this statement does not rule out that we should, take care of our family members, but certainly we should. It's just an extreme situation. Uh, Prabhupada says overly affectionate, like this. So what does it imply to be overly affectionate? Let us think about that for a moment. It doesn't mean we shouldn't be affectionate. That's stated elsewhere that affection for family members should definitely be there, otherwise we will not have a family. Overly affectionate, however, would be to completely, forget Krishna, to forget, the spiritual values, and make, the family life the all in all. Whereas devotees, we can say here like that, devotees are not overly affectionate, but are they are affectionate. Okay, they take really good care of the family and so on. Uh, they include Krishna in the family by chanting. How do they include Krishna in the family? Yeah, this one, of course, by chanting. Chanting his name, glories, kathas, such as Bhagavad Gita, yeah, Bhagavatam, yeah, and then what more? Offering food and taking as his prasad, like that. Prasadam. Yeah, the Krishna's mercy. Yeah. So in that way, one is having the family life, affection, and also having uh, not overly affectionate to family. Oh, we got a comment here. What was that? Okay. Yeah. So not overly affectionate to family means no dividing, or you can say sharing the affection to Krishna also. Yeah. Yeah. Does it make sense? Let me know if it doesn't. Okay, so let's go on. Although he could understand that his duty to fight was awaiting him, still, on account of miserly weakness, he could not discharge the duties. He is therefore asking Lord Krishna, the Supreme Spiritual Master, to make a definite solution. He offers himself to Krishna as a disciple. Shishyastuham sadhamam prapanam. And he also does prapana, his full surrender. Yeah. So in that way, he's doing what a disciple should do. Um, However, let's always keep in mind that it's voluntary. It's supposed to be a loving relationship where the disciple he views the guru as Krishna actually. Krishna's mercy. It's Krishna's mercy incarnation, mercy manifestation. He's not afraid that that the guru may be his enemy. He doesn't view the guru as his enemy, right? He views his guru as his best well-wisher in the whole existence. This should be the relationship. So it's a relationship of which is maximum loving. Yeah. So mm, yeah, he wants to stop friendly talks. Talks between the master and the disciple are serious, and now Arjuna wants to talk very seriously before they recognize spiritual master. Krishna is therefore the original spiritual master of the science of Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna is the first disciple for understanding the Gita. How Arjuna understands the Bhagavad Gita is stated in the Gita itself. And yet foolish mundane scholars explain that one need not submit to Krishna as a person, but to the unborn within Krishna. Yeah, so here Srila Prabhupada is referring to one of the Bhagavad Gita commentaries back in the day, which said exactly that. That was a Bhagavad Gita commentary written by a follower of Advaita Vedanta, which is saying that philosophy is saying, that everything is Brahman, including Krishna, and there's no difference, ultimately. However, Gaudiya Vaishnava is not following that philosophy. In Gaudiya Vaishnava, there is a difference between Krishna and Brahman and the living entity. Yeah. There's no difference between Krishna's within and without. So that's a different thing. Krishna is absolute. So in another sense, when somebody is the guru, representing Krishna, he's not different from Krishna. However, still there is a difference. How to reconcile this? That is done by Achintya Veda Veda Tattva. So Prabhupada just says one has no sense of this understanding is the greatest fool in trying to understand Bhagavad Gita. Sometimes we have to employ this Achintya Veda Veda Tattva. Yeah, that's simultaneous oneness and difference. Yeah. So the doctrine, it's very important to reconcile, the idea that Krishna is, for example, Krishna is the deity. However, in the material world, the deity is, non-moving. In the spiritual world, Krishna is moving. Yeah. So there is a difference, but still, the deity is to be accepted as Krishna, and we should serve Krishna in the form of the deity. Thinking that it's non-different from Krishna, we should bow down to it and treat it with the utmost honor reverence. Text 8. Nai prapashyami mama panudyat yachokamochoshanam indriyanam vapi bhumau asapatnam ridham rajam suranam apichadipatyam. I can find no means to drive away this grief which is drying up my senses. I will not be able to dispel it even if I win a prosperous and rivaled kingdom on earth with sovereignty like the demigods in heaven. So what does it mean? What Arjuna is saying here? He's saying that he's happy only if he can avoid the war. Yeah, he's not happy if he can have the war. But actually, he's not happy also if he gives up the war. That he also explains later that actually then he knows then he has failed in his duty. So he feels like a riven cloud. What do you call this expression? Damned if you do, damned if you don't. However, Krishna is going to solve that problem by saying, give up your ego, just serve me. Yeah. So then, one is free. One simply is a servant, and one is just doing what one's told. The problem comes when we're serving our mind. Then we often are in this dilemma. I'll take this. I'll write this down here. The problem often arises when we are serving our mind, ego, complex. It's called, damned if you do, damned if you don't. Yeah. That's the problem. Uh, if we are able to take the submissive role of simply being a servant of, of Krishna. However, I have to say that it has to be in the form of the guru because it has to be very specific. If you're just a servant of Krishna, Krishna has said so many things in the books. Which instruction are we going to follow? It has to be a real guru, who has appeared here in front of us. Yeah. For our personal guru. Yeah. Someone we have actually connected with on the the Baltica platform. No, the Baltica means physical. Yeah, yeah. Otherwise, it becomes too vague. Yeah. Then we can be freed from this dilemma. Is that yeah? It's written like that. For two. This is how you write it in. So that means that means Guru says um, we simply do that. Yeah. Sounds simple, eh? Okay, so then the purport, Prabhupada is saying, although Arjuna was putting forward so many arguments based on knowledge of the principles of religion and moral codes, it appears that he was unable to solve his real problem without the help of the spiritual master. That's the point. We can't really save ourselves from dilemma unless we are connecting with the spiritual master. Lord Shri Krishna. So in this instance, the spiritual master is directly Krishna because it is in the Krishna's lila. Yeah. He could understand that his so-called knowledge was useless in driving away his problems, which were drying up his whole existence, and it was impossible for him to solve such perplexities without the help of a spiritual master like Lord Krishna. Yeah. So now we come to the other side. Also we think in academical knowledge, scholarship, high position, etc., can help us. But Prabhupada says they're all useless in solving the problems of life. It can be given only by a spiritual master like Krishna. Now, Prabhupada mean by problems of life, of course, they're really, heavy, deep problems such as, birth and death. How to avoid them? Yeah. Lord Chaitanya said that one who is a master in the science of Krishna consciousness, regardless of his social position, is the real spiritual master. Kiva Vipra Nyasi Shudra Kenanai, Yay Krishna Tattva Veta Se Guru. It does not matter whether a person is a Vipra, learned scholar in Vedic wisdom, or is born in a lower family, or is in the renounced order of life. If he is a master in the science of Krishna, he is the perfect and bona fide spiritual master. So, all being said about the Brahmanas are, the topmost. However, a Vaishnava is higher than a Brahmana. It's, is automatically Brahmana also. Yeah. That's the point. So he can be, from a lower family or higher. Still, he may not be able, if he is born in a lower family, he may not have been trained to do specific Brahminical duties, such doing fire sacrifices and like that. So it's more like, in the sense that he knows, the knowledge needed to be known to get, self realized. So, for example, in the Bhagavatam, Shukadeva Swami, he had been trained up, in the no Shukadeva in the Bhagavatam was, counted as a, as a Brahmana, although he didn't undergo, Brahmin, Brahmana training, some skaras, etc. Yes, there are different kinds of Brahmanas also. So in this connection, to be a Brahmana, it means to be fit for self-realization. Yeah. Okay, so Prabhupada continues his purport. So without being a master in the science of Krishna consciousness, no one is a bona fide spiritual master. It is also said in the Vedic literature, Satkarmane Puna Vipro Mantra Tantra Visharadaha Vaishnava Guru Nasyad Vaishnava Svapacho Guru. A scholarly Brahmana who is expert in all subjects of Vedic knowledge is unfit to become a spiritual master without being a Vaishnava or expert in the science of Krishna consciousness. But a person born in a family of a lower caste can become a spiritual master if he is a Vaishnava or Krishna conscious. Yeah. So just something from that verse also. You have this thing about mantra and tantra. Yeah. Mantra, is chanting Hare Krishna. Yeah. Tantra is doing deity worship. For Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Okay. just to make it simple. Okay, so the problems of material existence, birth, old age, disease, and death, can be counteracted by accumulation of wealth and economic development. In many parts of the world, there are states which are replete with all facilities of life, which are full of wealth and economically developed, yet problems of material existence are still present. They are seeking peace in different ways. They can achieve real happiness only if they consult Krishna or the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. It constitutes the science of Krishna through the bona fide representative of Krishna and man in Krishna consciousness. Yeah, so also something about that. These two books, just write BG, there is Bhagavad Gita, and then you have Srimad Bhagavatam, and then you have the last one, CC. So these are like, this is our uh, ABC book, yeah, and it's like college study, yeah, and CC, university degree, yeah. So Bhagavad Gita, that is, so Gaudiya Vaishnavism, especially in Iskcon, are pretty much the books you'll need to go through all the knowledge. Yeah, yeah. So they're also termed in another way. You have it's called Sambandha. So knowledge about the relationships. So it means relationship between spiritual matter, relationship between God and the living entity, like the whole basic things. Bhagavatam is Abhideya Jnana. So that is what can you say? The sadhana, sadhana bhakti. Yeah, I mean it's more things also. I would say I should say it with non-Sanskrit. Over there again. So you say practice. Yeah, the practice. Yeah. So this is the relationships, the practice, and then what is the last one? That is uh, prayojana tattva. That is the goal. Yeah. So in other words, this is just a start to have Bhakti Shastri. We learn about the relationships, the basics, and then we go over to the Bhagavatam. That's Bhakti Vaibhava after this, and then it's continuing also in the Bhakti Sarvabhauma, and the last one, Bhakti Vedanta. Then the one is reading the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So that's the highest level. Yeah. So I'll just go to the next verse because we don't have time, unfortunately, to read all the verses. So this is saying Sanjaya Vaka, Evam Ukta Rishi Kesham, Buddha Kesha Parantapa, Nayutsa Iti Govindam, Ukta Tushnim Babu Vaha. Sanjaya said, having spoken thus, Arjuna chastised her enemies, told Krishna Govinda, I shall not fight, and fell silent. Yeah. So wait a minute, what has happened here? He said that he surrendered to Krishna, but still he's saying, this is too much. So he needs a little break at least. But he's surrendering. So mhm. So in other words, he's not saying here that he should not fight, like absolute statement. He just says, just for now, he's not fighting. But he didn't run away from the battlefield. He's still there now to be instructed. So he again, hopefully, he's hoping that some or other Krishna can help him, so he can be inspired to fight. So Prabhupada says in the purport here, Dhritarashtra must have been very glad to understand that Arjuna was not going to fight, and was instead leaving the battlefield for a begging profession. But Sanjaya disappointed him again in relating that Arjuna was competent to kill his enemies, called Parantapa. Although Krishna was for the time being overwhelmed with false grief due to family affection, he surrendered unto Krishna, the supreme spiritual master, as a disciple. This indicated that he would soon be freed from false lamentation resulting from family affection, and would be enlightened with perfect knowledge of self-realization or Krishna consciousness, and would then surely fight. That Dhritarashtra's joy would be frustrated, since Arjuna would be enlightened by Krishna and would fight to the end. And then it says, Tamuva Rishikesha Prahasaniva Bharata Senaro Madhya Vishidantamidam Vacha. O descendant of Bharat, at that time Krishna, smiling in the midst of both the armies, spoke the following words to the grief-stricken Arjuna. The talk was going on between intimate friends, namely Rishikesh and the Gudakesh. So there, remember that Rishikesh is the controller of the senses, and the other one is the conqueror of the sleep. So Arjuna was so expert he could even sleep less and still be a great fighter. Actually, he slept less so he could train himself more. Shooting in bow and arrow, he went up before sunrise. Yeah. As friends, both of them were on the same level, but one of them voluntarily became a student of the other. Krishna was smiling because a friend had chosen to become a disciple. As Lord of all, he is always in the superior position as the master of everyone, and yet the Lord agrees to be a friend, a son, or a lover for a devotee who wants him in such a role. But when he was accepted as the master, he at once assumed the role and talked with the disciple like the master, with gravity as it is required. So guru means heavy. It appears that the talk between the master and the disciple was openly exchanged in the presence of both armies, so that all were benefited. So the talks of Bhagavad Gita are not for any particular person, society, or community. They are for all, and friends or enemies are equally entitled to hear them. Yeah. So just let's see now. So now we read, uh, chapter 2. We just take a look at chapter 2, sections. Chapter 2 is called the Sankhya Yoga. So it's going to go through, the difference between, elements of nature, starting with spirit and matter. It's two different, concepts. So this is in order for it's an analytical study, in order to become detached. Yeah. So Sankhya is analytical study in order to become detached from matter. Yeah. That goes for both impersonal Sankhya Yoga and the devotional Sankhya Yoga. But of course, the devotional Sankhya Yoga also has as an extra that one should be, detached from matter and attached to Krishna and become more devoted. Whilst the impersonal Sankhya Yoga is just to become detached from matter in order to, of course, maybe they added purport to be, merged with Brahman. Yeah. So so the beginning here, the first 10 verses we read now is, Arjuna surrenders to Krishna. That's what he does. And then from 2:11 to 30, we're now going to see jnana. It's going to be about jnana, knowledge. What kind of knowledge? Knowledge of the soul. No. And after that, let's see how far we can get today. I don't know if we can get through all of these 20 verses. Probably not, but if you do, then the next one after that is Karma Kanda. That's just 8 verses. Yeah. So Karma Kanda is, doing karma for the sake of, material elevation. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. We start then, text 11. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, while speaking learned words, you are mourning for what is not worthy of grief. Those are wise lament neither for the living nor for the dead. So here we see Krishna is now, he's starting out by chastising. So be prepared. Once you get initiated, a guru, once you establish a relationship, you probably will be chastised. It has to be like that because the guru has to take the superior position. Uh, the idea is that as long as we are here in the material world, we are actually not very wise. And the guru is supposed to be wiser than ourselves. So it's better find a guru which you believe or have the impression that he or she is much wiser than us. Otherwise, what is the use? It should be a person which actually we want to follow the instructions, and we should be able to take corrections. Yeah. So Krishna is saying, "Those who are wise lament neither for a living nor for a dead." And the Prabhupada says in the purport, the Lord at once took the position of a teacher and chastised the student, calling him indirectly a fool. The Lord said, "You are talking like a learned man, but you do not know that one who is learned, one who knows that what is body and what is soul, does not lament for any stage of the body, neither in the living nor in the dead condition." As explained in later chapters, it will be clear that knowledge means to know matter and spirit and the control over both. Arjuna argued that religious principles should be given more importance than politics or sociology. We did not know that knowledge of matter, soul, and the supreme is even more important than religious formalities. So here we have a kind of a distinction between different levels of knowledge. So you can say knowledge, levels of knowledge. Yeah. So I talked about that before. I think this is a nice way to use these terms. It's not only me who thinks these are, this is how teachers, Vedic teachers are explaining. And that is by using the levels called the Bhautika. It's like the physical level. Then the Daivika. That's you say the astral level where all the demigods are at. Then you have the Adi Bhauti, so the Adi Atmika level. Atmika level. Yeah. So it become just as long both of these. Yeah. So Adi Bhautika knowledge, that is physical. So that includes, politics, sociology, and so on. And the Adaivic level is, astral, is a mental, yeah, yeah. And then you have Adhyatmika knowledge, which then, of course, is spiritual. And we really mean spiritual here. It's like 100%, okay? Absolute. Yeah. You can just write absolute, yeah. So that means it's really high level than most people when they talk about spiritual. They usually talk about astral or mental level, where all the angels and devas, all these magical things come into play. But it's actually not spiritual, according to the Vedic definition. Spiritual means the 100% place, but there is no change. You know, no change, stable, 100% stable. Yeah, no change. You know, no decay. Yeah, so it's enough to say these two things. Yeah, physical. That means such as you know that means what we heard here: political. So social. Yeah. Instrumental, that will be a little higher. Then, demigods, angels, you know, mystics, mystical things. Yeah, yeah. Or actually, we can say here also demigods. If you just keep the demigods, then religious also is there. Yeah. So, I'm running out of battery. I just have to charge. Sorry. So this religious level, that's where Arjuna was at the moment. He said, if we don't do, according to this and that, then we will get bad reactions from the demigods. Yeah, you will get bad karma. Yeah. So karmic reactions, they're part of this level. Okay. Uh, so let's try and get this. That on the spiritual level, there is no karma. Okay. Karma doesn't have nothing to do with that. Yeah. So on this very, you can say, grossest level of reality, political, social, usually doesn't believe in karma, or usually doesn't believe in it's like hardcore material science. Yeah. So anyway, so at least Krishna wanted Arjuna to step up to purely spiritual knowledge. That means to know about him. He's the supreme, yeah. The supreme absolute person. Yeah. So Krishna is going to show more about himself, and that's in the 11th chapter. That's a long ride to get there. There he's going to show that he's the absolute person because of this whole material universe, like that. Uh, because when you know about him, Krishna, fully, then what becomes a Mahatma, a pure devotee. Yeah. Mahatma, you know, pure devotee. Yeah. At least how Mahatma is used in Bhagavad Gita. There it means, a pure devotee. And because he was lacking in that knowledge, now back to Srila Prabhupada's purport, he's talking now about Arjuna, because, Arjuna, he was lacking in that knowledge, he should not have posed himself as a very learned man. As he did not happen to be a very learned man, he was consequently lamenting for something which was unworthy of lamentation. The body is born and is destined to be vanquished today or tomorrow. Therefore, the body is not as important as the soul. One who knows this is actually learned, and for him there is no cause for lamentation. Yeah. Regardless of the condition of the material body. Yeah. So then text 12. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. Yeah. So Krishna is simply saying, we are eternal. Purport. In the Vedas, in the Katha Upanishad, as well as in the Shatasvatara Upanishad, it said that the Supreme Personality of God is the maintainer of innumerable living entities in terms of their different situations, according to individual work and reaction of work. That Supreme Personality of God is also, by its plenary portions, alive in the heart of every living entity. Only saintly persons who can see within and without the same Supreme Lord can actually attain to perfect and eternal peace. Nitya Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam Ekabonyu without the Kamam. Atmasnam ye Anupashyanti Dhiras Tesham Shanti Shashvati Netaresham. The same Vedic truth is given to Arjuna. The same Vedic truth given to Arjuna is given to all persons in the world who pose themselves as very learned but actually have a poor fundamental knowledge. The Lord clearly says that he himself, Arjuna, and all the kings who are assembled on the battlefield are eternally individual beings, and that the Lord is eternally the maintainer of the individual living entities, both in their condition and in their living situation. Yes. So let's see if we can digest this. So it was here, Nitya Nityanam, Chetanas Chetananam. Yeah. So that means, among all the eternal people, Nitya means eternal. Among all the conscious people, Cheta means conscious. There is one, Eko, who gives to all the people. Bahu means all people. So one is giving to all. Yeah. Who is the one? Krishna is the one. Yeah. Eka, who delivers everything to the many. Bahu. Yeah, that means all of us. The Supreme Personality of God is the Supreme Individual Person, and Arjuna, the Lord's eternal associate, and all the kings assembled there are individual eternal persons. It is not that they did not exist as individuals in the past, and it is not that they will not remain eternal persons. Their individuality existed in the past, and their individuality will continue in the future without interruption. Therefore, there is no cause for lamentation for anyone. Okay, that should be clear. Yeah, so the lamentation would then be because of bewilderment by non-material energy. Yeah. Okay. So let's go to the next. The Mayavadi theory that after liberation, the individual soul, separated by the covering of Maya or illusion, will merge into the impersonal Brahman and lose its individual existence, is not supported herein by Lord Krishna, the Supreme Authority. So we talked about this, Mayavadi theory before in separate videos. This is said the difference between Mayavadi and Bhakti, something like that. Oh, did we lose our connection here? No, it's still going. Nor is the theory that we can only think of individuality in the conditioned state supported their hearing. Yeah. So we're not individuals, only now in the material world. We will be that also after realizing the spiritual world. That's the idea. Krishna clearly says herein that in the future also the individuality of the Lord and others, as is confirmed in the Upanishads, will continue eternally. The statement of Krishna's is authoritative because Krishna cannot be subject to illusion. If individuality were not a fact, then Krishna would not have stressed it so much. Even for the future, the Mayavadi may argue that individuality spoken of by Krishna is not spiritual but material. Even accepting the argument that the individuality is material, then how can one distinguish Krishna's individuality? Krishna affirms his individuality in the past and confirms his individuality in the future also. Okay. He's saying, I'm existing now, I exist in the future, and I exist in the past. And the same with you, he tells Arjuna. Okay, so we'll go to the next purport. Next verse is one of the most famous verses from the Gita. Dinasminyatade he kalmaram yovanam jara katade hantara praptir digas tatranamuyat. So this will be one of the verses we are required to know by heart, I guess. It's possible it can appear in a test. As the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. Report. Since every living entity is an individual soul, each is changing his body every moment, manifesting sometimes as a child, sometimes as a youth, and sometimes as an old man. Yet the same spirit soul is there and does not undergo any change. Yeah, that's the thing. We are the same person, although our body has changed from being a child to being, young man, to being a middle-aged man, to being, old person, and even to change the body. We are still the same person. As a soul, as an observer, the one who gives life to the body. The prana wouldn't be there if there were no Atma. That's the idea. The prana is the life force, and that's coming from God. It's given to the Atma so he can be in the material world and operate. When the prana is going away, then of course it's said that the soul is having to find a new host in another body. So the prana is going away by the super soul going to another body first. The super soul is first going out of the body. Then the Atma with all the pranas are following. Yeah. Yeah, I can write that here. At death. Yeah. 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 What's happening at death? The super soul is going out of the body first. Then the Atma encapsulated, you know, inside the subtle body called the Sukshma Sharira. Yeah. Consisting of mind and intelligence, false ego, and you know mind is including here, actually Sukshma Sharira, including the prana. You can say the pranas operating the senses. Yeah. Sometimes it's said, that can be, part of the mind. It's very subtle, so it's not easy to understand. The pranas are subtle, okay? They're going on inside, our subtle body. And they're represented in the gross body by, by, you could say, the gross senses. But the pranas inside the body, they are, our senses in the subtle form. So in that way, they can go out with us inside and go to another, Shula Sharira, host. So that's called, that's the growth body. Yeah. The Atma, what is the Atma? That's, the Karana Sharira. Yeah. That's a causal body. Yeah. Uh, okay, so let's go on. Any man who has perfect knowledge of the constitution of the individual soul, the supersoul, and nature, both material and spiritual, is called a Dhira, or a most sober man. So you saw the explanation given here. Well, if you actually realize that, we will be sober because we know we will not die. Yeah. Such a man is not deluded by the changed bodies. So you can see here above. Yeah. Yeah. So at death, the super soul is going out for the body, which you call first. The Atma, Varnashira, encapsulated inside the soul body, Shukshma Shurya, including the pronouns operating sense, mind, intelligence, false ego, is following the super soul, guiding him to his new host, which is another, gross body. Yeah. So the soul, in other words, is dragging the whole subtle body with him. Yeah. Or you can say is driving inside, his suk, sukshma sharira, towards, another Tula Sharira. Yeah. And where he is driving is, prompted to him by his super soul. Yeah. So he's, the like you have in the car. Somebody is in the car race or something. Then, they have a person on the side who sits with the map, telling him go left, go right. So that's the super soul. Yeah. So the Mayavadi theory of oneness of the spirit soul cannot be entertained on the ground that the spirit soul cannot be cut into pieces as a fragmental portion. So this cutting we will now get to see. So we'll just go to the next text. There will be a few verses talking exactly about that you cannot actually cut the soul to pieces. So first, Krishna is just giving, the basic knowledge about the situation of the soul. He says, "O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress, and their disappearance in due course, are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception of sign of Bharat, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed." It's just coming and going all the time. Nobody can be, all the time happy, or all the time sad also. Purport: in the proper discharge of duty, one has to learn to tolerate non-permanent appearances and disappearances of happiness and distress. According to Vedic injunction, one has to take his bath early in the morning, even during the month of Mala, January, February. And similarly, he says here, to fight is the religious principle of the Kshatras. Although one has to fight with some friend or relative, one should not deviate from his prescribed duty. I think he mentions another example also above here. Yeah. A woman does not hesitate to cook in the kitchen in the, you know, in the months of May, June, the hottest part of summer season. Now, of course, we're talking about India. It's not so hot here. So there is given two different names of address to Arjuna here in this verse. Kaunteya is there, and also Bharata. So Kaunteya, means the son of Kunti. She has a great mother. Mother Kunti is a great devotee of Krishna, and also Bharata was a great king. Because of him, the land of India is called Bharatvarsha. Yeah. For both sides, he is supposed to have a great heritage. A great heritage brings responsibility in the matter of proper discharge of duties. Therefore, he cannot avoid fighting. Yeah. He had a good bloodline, so in that way he could be urged to represent properly on the backgrounds of his family lineage. That way, life is often going on. We have some obligation because we have a good family, or there's like some, because they pride in the family line that previous people in our family were together, so we should also be together as a person, and act properly. So that is a good obligation. Yeah, so in that way, Krishna is using that as a selling point to win Krishna over, to win Arjuna over. Yeah. Krishna is already won over by Arjuna before because Arjuna is such a great devotee. So Krishna is won over by becoming, even Arjuna's friend. But in a friendship, or in any loving relationship, it is giving and taking. So now it's Arjuna's time to give. So that's why now Krishna is he's just arguing now with Arjuna that he should now give to Krishna. So he says to Arjuna, "O best among men, Arjuna, the person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress and is steady in both is certainly eligible for liberation." So he's trying to ease out Arjuna's mind, so Arjuna can be a little bit more equipoised. That's called steadiness. Prabhupada says, anyone who is steady in his determination for the advanced stage of spiritual realization and can equally tolerate the onslaughts of distress and happiness is certainly a person eligible for liberation. Yeah. In the Varnashram institution, the fourth stage of life, namely renounced order sannyas, is a painstaking situation. Yeah. But still, sannyas will do his job. And similarly, Prabhupada says, in Arjuna's discharge of duties as a Kshatriya, he is advised to persevere, even if it's difficult to fight with his family members or similarly beloved persons. Lord Chaitanya took sannyas at the age of 24. And his dependents, young wife as well as old mother, had no one else to look after them. Yet for a higher cause he took sannyas and was steady in the discharge of higher duties. That is the way of achieving liberation from material bondage. So if one becomes a pure devotee, he can liberate his whole family. So in that way, the men who are able to act like this, they are called heroes. Of course, they have to actually do it for the good cause. So next text says, those who are seers of the truth have concluded that of the non-existent, which is the material body, there is no endurance, and of the eternal, the soul, there is no change. This they have concluded by studying the nature of both. Yeah. So of course, the body is changing and it has no endurance because it's going to die and become basically earth. again. Yeah, that the body is changing every moment by the actions and reactions of the different cells is admitted by modern medical science, and thus growth and old age are taking place in the body. But the spirit soul exists permanently, remaining the same despite all changes of the body and the mind. That is the difference between matter and spirit. Yeah, and then Prabhupada goes on to say in the Vishnu Purana, it is stated also there that Vishnu and his abodes are all have self-eliminated spiritual existence. Yotimshi Vishnu Bhuvanani Vishnu. The words existent and non-existent refers only to spirit and matter. Yeah. So on the spiritual plane, everything is absolute steady, as we wrote before. All seers of truth are seeing that. So next word is saying, that which pervades the entire body you should know to be indestructible. No one is able to destroy that imperishable soul. So Prabhupada says this verse more clearly explains the real nature of the soul, which is spread all over the body. And one can understand that what is spread all over the body is consciousness. So consciousness is, the effect of the soul, you can say, or the soul is completely conscious. So that's why you can, have conscience. Also, everyone is conscious of the pains and pleasures of the body in part or as a whole. This spreading of consciousness is limited within one's own body. Yeah. The pains and pleasures of one's own body are the pains and pleasures of one body are unknown to another. Therefore, each and every body is the embodiment of an individual soul, and the symptom of the soul's presence is perceived as individual consciousness. This soul is described as 1/10,000 part of the proportional hair point in size. Yeah, so this is from the Upanishads. When the upper point of a hair is divided into 100 parts, and again, each of such parts is further divided into 100 parts. Each such part is a measurement of the dimension of the spirit soul. And then also another quote, there are innumerable particles of spiritual atoms which are measured as 1/10,000 of the upper portion of the hair. Yeah, so it's incredibly small. It's called, another place you call it Chitkana. Is a spiritual particle, that's all. Yeah. So any layman can understand that the material body minus consciousness is a dead body. And this consciousness cannot be revived in the body by any means of material administration. There's this theory of cryonics that you can freeze down the body, and maybe later in time, some scientists can find out how to, get life in the body again. Well, according to Bhagavad Gita, this won't work. Yeah. Because consciousness is not due to any amount of material combination, but due to the spirit soul. So if the spirit soul already left the body and inhabited another body and is going on with life, then how can you, by the method of freezing down the body and getting life, it's not possible. Simply because the spirit soul is somewhere else. Yeah. And then another quote from the Upanishads: the soul is atomic in size and can be perceived by perfect intelligence. Floating in 5 kinds of air, prana, pana, vyana, samana, and udana. It's situated within the heart. It spreads its influence all over the body of the body living entities. When the soul is purified from the contamination of 5 kinds of material air, its spiritual influence is exhibited. Yeah. So that sounds like, more like a mechanical yoga. So Prabhupada then mentions, this mechanical yoga called the Hatha Yoga system. It's meant for controlling the 5 kinds of air, encircling the pure soul by different kinds of sitting postures, not for any material profit, but for liberation of the mind and soul from entanglement of the material atmosphere. Of course, many are using it to get siddhis, mystical powers, or simply just for getting, better health. In the original system, and Hatha Yoga is just a part of that, meant to, have a good and sound, breathing by proper flow of energy in the body, and then one can, have proper meditation and concentration in order to get samadhi. And thus, in the samadhi stage, one can either get siddhis. Actually, siddhis are even available before that. But actually, the real samadhi is to realize, the spiritual existence, and thus get what is called mukti or liberation. Yeah. So that's, explained in all the Vedic literatures, especially the Upanishads. So we go to the next verse. Antavanta medeha nitya shukta sharirinaha anashino aprameyasya tasmad yudhasva bharata. The material body is of the indestructible, immeasurable, and eternal living entity is sure to come to an end. Therefore, fight, O descendant of Bharata. Yeah. The material body of the indestructible. So the deha, the body, is called sharira. And Sharira means that it's destructible. However, the soul is called Nitya, eternal. Therefore, fight. Purport: the material body is perishable by nature. It may perish immediately, or it may do so after 100 years. It is a question of time only. There is no chance of maintaining it indefinitely. But the spirit soul is so minute that it cannot even be seen by an enemy, to say nothing of being killed. So, what is being killed? Well, it's the Shurla Sharira only. Not even the second body, the Sukshma Sharira, is being killed. That is alive, and that's why it can, transport the soul to another Stula Sharira, or another gross body. Hence, there is not actually much killing going on, taken from the spiritual point of view. It's simply, the soul finding another host. Yeah. So next verse. Yaenam veti hantaram yaschaina manyate hatam uvaltau na vijanito naem hantina hanyate. Neither he who thinks the living entity is slayer, nor he who thinks it slain is in knowledge, for itself slays not, nor is slain. Yeah. And the next verse says, for the soul there is neither birth nor death at any time. He has not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. So it's a bit of repetition, but it's important because it really is a point that needs to be drilled, especially to Arjuna, now when he's about to make a very important decision, whether he's going to pack up, go home from the fight, or whether he's going to continue. So Krishna is just adamant in giving him, the same point from different angles of vision. Nayam Bhutva Bhavatam Vana Bhuya. So Bhutva, it was not created. Bhavata is also not created now. And Bhuya, it will not be created in the future because it's ever existing. Yeah. What will be created, what was created, and is created all the time is the Sharira, the physical body. Yeah, so Prabhupada says here, qualitatively, the small atomic fragmental part of the Supreme Spirit is one with the Supreme. He undergoes no changes like the body. Sometimes the soul is called a steady or kutastha, which I already mentioned. But the soul is steady and unchangeable. There's no karma going on with the soul, per se. The karma is going on because of the subtle body, acting with the gross body. So the body is subjected to 6 kinds of transformations. So we can take a look at this. Takes its birth from the womb of the mother's body, remains for some time, grows, produces some effects, gradually dwindles, and at last vanishes into. The soul, however, does not go through such changes. The soul is not born, but because it takes on the material body, the body takes its birth. The soul does not take birth there, and the soul does not die. Anything which has birth also has death. And because the soul has not birth, he therefore has no past, present, or future. He is eternal, ever existing, and primeval. That is, there is no trace in history. He is coming into being. Yeah, you see this? So it said, the soul, existence, is, anadi. I can say in the material, you know. Yeah. So there's no need to go in and think, how did it all start? As Prabhupada says, if the house is on fire, just get out of the house. Yeah. So we know, that the Sharira, Sharira Vidyajal Yudendriya Tak of Jeepli Vishaya Sagare. There is a problem with having a body because it's leading to death. Yeah. So in that way, we just practice spiritual life, being, carefree, and we can happily go back to the spiritual world, not worrying, digging too much into our, past history, like that, because it's not really our past history. It's just the past of, of the false ego being entangled with a gross body since, beginningless time. So that would be, a futile attempt to try and find, some kind of start point. And so under impression of the body, we seek the history or birth, etc. of the soul. The soul does not at any time become old as the body does. So we don't need to seek the history of the birth of our previous lives. The so-called old man therefore feels himself to be in the same spirit as in his childhood or youth. The changes of the body do not affect the soul. The soul does not deteriorate like a tree or anything material. The soul has no byproduct either. The byproducts of the body, namely children, are also different individual souls. And owing to the body, they appear as children of a particular man. The body develops because of the soul's presence. The soul has neither offshoots nor change. Therefore, the soul is free from the six changes of the body. Can you remember the six changes? See if I can remember them. Birth and death, of course, uh, creates, byproducts, you know, like children and so on. What more was it? Gets old, vanishes. Yeah, so I can take death and put it down there. These are five. What was the sixth one? Nobody's watching this, so there is no comments. Okay, I'll have to go back and see. Let's see, what was that? It takes its birth, grows. Yeah, birth, growing, create byproducts, gets old, vanishes, and death. Yeah, and then another quote from the Katha. Meaning and purport of this verse is the same as in the Bhagavad Gita. But here in this verse, there is one special word, vipaschit, which means learned or with knowledge. So that's quite interesting. Ajayatam yatava vipaschit. So here the soul is called, the knowledgeable one, and Prabhupada continues to speak about that. Soul is full of knowledge, or full always with consciousness. Therefore, consciousness is not the symptom. No, sorry. Therefore, consciousness is the symptom of the soul. Even if one does not find the soul within the heart, where it's situated, one can still understand the presence of the soul simply by the presence of consciousness. Yeah, so you can look at that. So, yeah. So, what was that? Knowledge. So it said, soul or Atma, it is Sat, Chit, Ananda. Yeah. So that is what is Sat, eternal, full of knowledge, consciousness. So this goes for both of them. Chit is covering both of these things. Yeah. And then eternal and blissful. Yeah. Happy. Yeah. Now matter, you can say, the body, etc. Yeah. So he's not getting such a glorious description because it's Asat, Achit, and Nir Ananda. So that means temporary. Let's just to make it very clear, deadly, uh, and deadly dull. There's no consciousness in it. Deadly dull, and morose. Yeah, uh, without happiness, or you can say deadly without consciousness and without happiness. That's actually the more technical, clear description. It's not actually that matter is, miserable. Matter simply is, not conscious. There is no misery even in it. It simply is, it's just, unconscious. There is just dull energy. Yeah. The soul is not in there, so there is no consciousness. So there is no feeling of happiness nor distress. So, so Prabhupada is going on to with an analogy. Sometimes we do not find the sun in the sky owing to clouds or for some other reason. But the light of the sun is always there, and we are convinced that it is there for daytime. As soon as there is a little light in the sky early in the morning, we can understand that the sun is in the sky. Similarly, since there is some consciousness in all bodies, whether man or animal, we can understand the presence of the soul. So this is called an analogy. And for those of you who want to take, the Bhakti Shastri test, this is one of the analogies which we may get as a question in the test. Yeah. So what does the analogy says? Uh, yeah. What does it say? Yeah. So although matter is clouding everything, still, well, we can have a glimpse. Okay, so we get a nice comment here. Someone consciousness is not soul. Please explain this. Well, it's from someone. Consciousness is not soul. Please explain. Yes, thank you. Yeah. Okay, I'll try and explain that. Thank you for the question. Um, yeah. So consciousness um, is not soul per se. It is the effect of the soul. Yeah. So, for example, the sun. It's like sun and sunlight actually. Uh, the sunlight is an effect or energy of the sun, but not exactly the sun. Yeah. So in that way, wherever the soul is, there will be consciousness always. Yeah. So wherever the sun is, yeah, there will be there will be sunshine always, right? So we can take consciousness as sunshine. Yeah. Yeah. So now comes the thing. However, there is the Maya factor. Yeah. So that's the crux of our whole problem. What does the Maya do? Yeah. Maya clouds you know, our consciousness. And you can say a cloud you know blocks the sunshine. Yeah. Everything appears dark. Yeah. So Maya blocks our consciousness. You know, we are we appear as unconscious. We appear as being unconscious, but actually we are not. It's a very, very fine point, and we have to think very deeply about this. See, a cloud blocks the sunshine. Everything appears dark, right? It's completely dark. But actually, yeah, so I'll divide it like this. Uh, Actually, the sun still shines, right? And here also, Maya clouds the consciousness. We appear as unconscious. Uh, Actually, we are conscious. Yeah, it's being blocked, but blocked, temporarily blocked, but blocked. You know. So it's, I mean, you can drag an analogy quite far, but at one point, but temporary, because of illusion, we appear as conscious because of Maya Shakti. Yeah. Uh, yeah. Okay. So what do you say in the comment? What are the other effects of consciousness beside consciousness? Soul is the thing that witness the consciousness that soul witness three stages of consciousness. Yeah. Yeah. Uh, yeah. So you have this Jagrata. So we'll write that also. Three stages of consciousness. Yeah. Let's take a look at them now. Give ourselves some space here. So then we have, Jagrata. That's a waking consciousness, waking state. I just save myself from writing consciousness each time. So waking state, swapna is no sleep state with dreams. And then the last one, su, su, you know, that is deep sleep without dreams. Yeah. But it is actually said that we are actually conscious even in the deep sleep, because we can understand after coming back from the deep sleep that we did indeed have deep sleep without dreams. Yeah, it's a very, very subtle thing. So that's why it said, we can't really understand it unless we are going the spiritual way and getting, the spiritual realizations. Uh, Mind you, when we are in the different, species of life, for example, animal lives, we cannot even discuss these things. In other words, we are actually captured by the Maya very much. So the analogy of the sun and sunshine, it can only last for so far, just to understand the concept. But actually, it's a different, situation, really. Uh, the situation is that Maya, Maya Shakti, is more powerful than us, you know, Atma, Atmas, or even called Jivas. Yeah. She only lets us go when we have, gone under the shelter of, God. Yeah. Bhagavan. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Like that. Uh, the level of, consciousness, level of consciousness of the, of the Atma, soul, proper. What is that? That is called Turiya, the fourth level of transcendence. Transcendence, spiritual perception with, with senses. Yeah. Yeah. So at that state, one has spiritual senses. Yeah. One operates with spiritual senses. In in a spiritual body. Yeah. In spiritual body. So that is called siddha, deha. You know. Yeah. So deha means siddha means perfected, perfection, body. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Happy you got some answers from what I wrote. Thank you so much. So we'll go on. Actually, we'll stop now because the clock is 8. So we'll continue next time with text 21. So so thanks to everybody. Thanks to Srila Prabhupada for the great translation and purport of the Bhagavad Gita. Please read it at your own leisure because we don't have time to read all the purports in our course. But they are indeed very, very helpful to understand. And we'll see you tomorrow for another session of Bhakti Shastra.